Donald Trump went to the National Association of Black Journalists convention today, and it did not go well for Donald Trump. He was immediately confronted with his former tweets and former statements and former associations that the black journalists on the panel felt like made black Americans uncomfortable. So we're going to dive into this. Trump absolutely bombed. It went horrible for him. And this is really the chickens coming home to roost. This is why it's so important to not just say whatever you want to say when you're president. I know conservatives loved that about Trump, but that kind of rhetoric always has consequences. So let's get into it.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Now, what's funny about Donald Trump in this conversation is Donald Trump sits there and says, I've never been asked such a nasty question. I came here in good faith. Donald Trump definitely spread false birther rumors about both Nikki Haley and Obama. He did. Now, for those of you who are still in La La Land and think that somehow or another Barack Obama was not born in America, even if he wasn't, his mother was an American, which would still give him room to become a citizen of the country, even if he wasn't. Let's just say hypothetically he wasn't born in the United States. His mother was still an American. I don't know what y'all, I don't know what y'all think he was just born in Kenya to 2 Kenyan parents or something. No. This man created false birth rumors about Nikki Haley, Obama. That did happen. Donald Trump did tell congresswomen of color to go back to their crime-infested countries. Only one of those congresswomen was actually from out of the country. Ilhan Omar was born in Somalia. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is from the United States alongside Rashida Tlaib and the rest of the squad. For a president of the United States to use that kind of language is just retarded. It's just dumb. I don't understand. This is what we call the chickens coming home to roost. Donald Trump thought he could get away with this kind of rhetoric. And for all of you conservatives who have prided yourselves on Donald Trump says whatever he wants to say, well, these are the consequences. Donald Trump can call it bad faith all he wants, and I came here in good faith and good spirit and goodwill. These are your statements coming back to haunt you. You said these things. Part of the reason why it's so important for a president to not use this kind of language, not just because you could end up, being in an interview that goes wrong, like Trump, but also because you're not the president of the white states of America, the black states of America, the Latino states of America, the Indian American or Native American states of America, or the Asian states of America. You are the president of the United States of America. And when you use your voice, it has to be a voice of unity. You can't be sitting there telling congresswomen of color to go back to their crime-infested countries if they don't like how we do things in America. Donald Trump is a second-generation immigrant. Second-generation immigrant. Second-generation immigrant. I'm telling you, Donald Trump's family has been in this country for a very short period of time, and yet he was tweeting like he was some kind of descendant of English colonists or something. As if somehow he's more deserving of America than those women were, I guess because he's white. That's exactly what it is. Because Donald Trump doesn't have some ancestry that goes back to the Civil War like I do. My ancestry goes even further back than the Civil War. I can count my ancestors among the earliest slaves, the earliest white Anglo-Saxon settlers. I have an actual long connection to this nation's history. And I don't use that kind of language. I don't try to sit there and alienate people because they are recent immigrants. That's not acceptable language. Donald Trump engaged in that language. And when you speak that way, you're not only emboldening white nationalists who speak that way, you're actually turning a negative tide against people who come from non-white backgrounds. Because the unfortunate reality is the whole you come from a crime-infested country, which is just code word for immigrant. This is anger, this discrimination toward immigrants. It doesn't affect white immigrants. If someone's family came here from Germany a generation ago, they're not going to be treated the same way as someone whose family came from Colombia or Venezuela or Nigeria. It's not the same. And you know it's not the same. And this rhetoric is rhetoric you chose to engage in. And it doesn't stop there. Donald Trump also used the language of shithole countries. Shithole countries. So you describe other nations as whole countries, despite the fact that we have people in our country who come from those lands. So what does that make them? Nuggets? Turds? Like, I'm trying to figure out what does that make people who are immigrants from those countries, who work hard in America, who are trying to make a life for themselves. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say, I came here in good faith, and then be upset when people take your own words and plaster them in front of you, and now all of a sudden you're uncomfortable, or the questions are nasty, or it's not good faith. Come on, this is called accountability. The very thing you conservatives were preaching to black Americans about for 8 years. Black Americans need to take accountability for having kids out of wedlock, which is true. Black Americans need to take accountability for crime in their communities, which is true. But now all of a sudden, when it's time for Trump to take accountability for his disgustingly divisive rhetoric, now all of a sudden it's bad faith? Come on. Y'all can't be serious. Y'all can't be serious, bro. This is simply the chickens coming home to roost, talking about shithole countries. And what's funny is I watched a black man on a Jubilee discussion sit there and talk about, oh yeah, I love the fact that Trump says whatever he wants. I love the fact that Trump says shithole countries. And it's like, bro, you do realize that racism doesn't have a pit stop. It continues to go. When the immigrants are done being demonized and they're finally gotten rid of, who's next? The black man. The black man is next. When Trump, all these white supremacist sympathizers in the Republican Party, all these legitimate racists demonize and then expel the immigrants, who's next? You, black man. You, black American man. You're who's next. You're who's next. You think these racists, many of whom come from recent immigrant families, are going to stop with non-white, non-black immigrants? No. They're coming for you next. These Polish, Sicilian, Italy, not the exact same thing, but you get what I'm trying to say. These people are going to then be telling you to go back to Africa if you have a problem with how we do things in America. White folks who have no ancestral connection to the Anglo-Saxons who founded this country are going to then tell you, black man, to go back to Africa if you don't like how we do things. This rhetoric doesn't stop anywhere. It continues to go. Racism makes no pit stops. It just doesn't. So this is the consequence of Trump's own rhetoric coming back to haunt him. Whole countries. Knowing that there are immigrants in this country who come from those lands. He knows what he's doing. And the white people who come from these countries, like Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, they're not going to be negatively impacted by Trump's rhetoric because they're white. The people who will be negatively impacted by the whole country rhetoric are always going to be the non-white immigrants of those countries every single time. And he knows that. Then we move on to the dinner with the white supremacist stuff. I have read that Donald Trump did not invite Nick Fuentes on purpose. I've read, I'm not going to say I've been told, I've read that Kanye was the one who was invited, and Kanye purposefully brought Nick Fuentes with him. Now, here's the funny thing. Donald Trump's not entirely innocent here. He's not entirely off the hook. Although Donald Trump did not purposefully invite Nick Fuentes, Donald Trump allowed Kanye West to come to Mar-a-Lago after Kanye West had went on those anti-Semitic rants. I'm going DEFCON 3 on the Jews and all of that. After that, and we knew Kanye was hanging with Nick because we saw Nick and Kanye get off the flight together. We knew they were associated. Donald Trump still invited Kanye to Mar-a-Lago in spite of the stuff that Kanye was saying. So even then, Trump's not entirely off the hook. And what's crazy is Trump has Jewish grandchildren. I don't know why he would bring Kanye to Mar-a-Lago knowing the heat that was on Kanye at that time. Kanye had delivered zero apologies, zero backtracks. I don't know why Trump would just gladly invite Ye to Mar-a-Lago in spite of that, but this is what I'm talking about. Donald Trump does not take rhetoric from himself or damn near anyone else seriously ever. He doesn't give a about how his language impacts people outside of his own in-group, but also even just himself. His own family is Jewish. He has Jewish grandchildren, a Jewish son-in-law, and yet he still willfully invited Kanye. It's like, does this man care about anything besides himself? I struggle to know. Trump then goes on to basically accuse Kamala Harris of possibly not being black, despite the fact that a Google search would show the fact that Kamala Harris is in fact black.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe
I
that she
think
is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are.
Then she turned into a black person. Yo, this ain't funny, but it is though. Donald Trump just has one job. Just act presidential once. Just, bro, like, oh my God. Just act presidential once. Just one time. A lot of the stuff you did, Trump, really all of the stuff you did is like verifiable. We know you did it. It's not 1940 something. We can check the stuff you've said and done. Just say, hey, I said those things, but that's in the past. I don't believe those things anymore. I want unity. I want strength. I want a unified America. And you would have made that lady look like a negative Nancy. Instead, you're not ready for accountability. You're completely taken off guard by accountability. You're completely taken off guard by people tracing the stuff you said and saying, hey, is this you? Then you sit there and, and you ask her to define DEI. That's such an old head move. Define DEI. Is Trump, maybe Trump might be black. Hey, bro, if you black, bro, any black kid, any black man, black woman, or young black person, y'all all know, bro. When you ever say an acronym or a big word, the first thing somebody asks you, define, what do I mean? Define that. What do I mean, though? Automatically, the first thing is, you don't know what that mean. It's like, well, maybe I do. Maybe Trump might be black. Trump immediately asks her to define DEI as if she wasn't going to know the meaning. Bro, you're at a black journalist convention. They know what DEI means, bro. They're journalists. Why did he think they didn't know? Because they're black? I don't know. You never know with Trump. I don't know how much. I know there's racism in there. I just don't know what percentage we're dealing with. I don't know if he's maxed out his racism stats or not. But for him to just automatically assume she doesn't know what DEI means, and then when she gives him the definition, he's like, is that what it means? You got to define it. It's like, bro, your side are the ones propagating the narrative of DEI. We know DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you don't think she's DEI, say so. If you think she is DEI, say so. But don't pretend like no one knows what DEI means. What did Trump think that DEI meant? I'm genuinely curious. Like, I don't understand. What did he think the acronym meant? Did he just assume it was code word for black and female, which it is? Now it is. Now it's just code word for black person I don't like. Black person I don't agree with. Black person whose politics I don't like. Therefore, I will completely paint every single one of their, accomplishments under the brush of black. Like, that is exactly what it is now. And she gave him the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I think Kamala's an accomplished woman, but we disagree on some things, and that's that. Instead, Trump sits there and basically doubles down and is like, she might be DEI, she might not be, which is code word for she's DEI. Trump and accountability have a very rough relationship. I mean, this is a really easy thing to dodge. This isn't a complex issue to handle for Trump. This was an easy dodge. But Trump was not ready for this. He was not ready for accountability. He was not ready for someone to confront him with the things that he said. And the reality is that if you're MAGA, like, Trump can't outrun accountability forever. And y'all need to stop pretending like Trump didn't say these things. The receipts exist. He said these things. He could have distanced himself from his old rhetoric. He could have distanced himself from his old decisions. Instead, he roundabout doubles down. And it's like, well, if that's what you're going to do, then, like, you got to stand by what you did. You got to stand by what you did in the past. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So... and now all of a sudden she's a black person. Yo, that is funny. Trump is funny, but at the end of the day, these are Trump's words. They have come back to haunt him, and he has to take accountability, just like conservatives have told blacks to do for years. Take accountability, be responsible. I agree. I don't think conservatives are wrong for telling black folks to be accountable for crime in the community and out of wedlock births. I think that's just the truth. But y'all can't run away from truth while trying to make everybody else face truth. Oh no, we're not doing that. The same way y'all are crying right now about that Olympic thing that y'all thought that it was like a desecration of the Last Supper. Then to come to find out, a lot of this art was based on Greek and Roman pantheon paintings and depictions of art. So at the end of the day, y'all, after spending 8 years, saying, are you triggered, and priding yourselves on offending other cultures, wearing Native American dress and treating it like it's a joke and all of that. It was funny to make fun of other people's cultures, but now when it's time to make fun of yours, you're crying tears. Now you're complaining. Oh, they're disrespecting Christianity. No. If you are a conservative who took pride in triggering people, sit this one out. I only want to hear from conservatives who don't disrespect other cultures. Which is there's plenty of y'all. But for those of you who have taken pride in triggering people, shut your ass up. I don't want to hear from you. No one wants to hear from you. Shut up. So with that being said, Trump, this is called consequences. That's all this is. This is called accountability. If you hadn't said these things, they wouldn't be coming back to haunt you. This is one of the many reasons why when you are running for president or you are the president, you watch your rhetoric, because they can come back to haunt you. Those things you say can come back to haunt you. It's just the truth. It just can. It's not just the negative impact you have by emboldening white nationalist organizations. It's not just the negative effect of emboldening full-on racists. It's also the fact that it can harm your campaign, which for Trump, I think that's the only thing he cares about, is like how it affects him. So we'll see what happens. Trump is probably going to double down. I don't see him winning this election. It's going bad for him. He just is. Like, I when he got shot at, I was like, oh man, it might be a landslide victory, but nah, Trump's not winning. Wrap it up. It's over. Time for all y'all MAGA-ites to just go home. Trumpites, excuse me. It's time for all y'all Trumpites to just go home. It's over. If you liked the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.